Welcome to Hari Sadhana 108. I am glad that you are interested to know more about Mata Sita. In the last part, we saw Hanumanji came to hermitage to fulfill Mata's desire and took Mata to Ayodhya through meditation. Continuing further, Soma narrates to Anusuya and her mother. Soma paused in her narrative. We waited eagerly for her to continue. But she seemed lost in thought. When she did finally pick up her narrative, she spoke from a faraway place, her voice filled with an otherworldly tone, as if it were not her speaking. I came to know what they were doing in the last year, Mata and Shri Ram. They were planting thought forms in the human mind, in the collective, seeding ideas and concepts that would unfold centuries and even millennia into the future. This earth is in the descending arc of its cyclical movement, Mata explained to me one evening. Humans are losing touch with the spiritual worlds, but gaining development of the rational faculty, which will increase man's mental capability. Some of these thought forms will not manifest until we enter the ascending arc in the realm where time operates. As the human spirit seeks to know itself in its full individuality, man's sense of himself will become much inflated and the thirst for power will grow, as will aggression. That is why structure and laws are necessary now, whereas they were not needed when there was a natural internal knowing of dharma. Eventually, when individuality reaches its peak, man will have to move beyond that and come to know himself again as part the whole. Then he will be able to overcome these aggressive traits. That is a long way off. We cannot go against the cycles of time that have been established and that have their own rhythm and pulse. Much patience is needed when you abide in the realm of time. Soma was quiet and then resumed speaking in her familiar voice. After the visit from Parvati Ma and Mahadev, Mata seemed more inward and less accessible, except to her children. Whenever she was in their presence, she was fully attentive to every detail of their lives. But she was spending more and more time alone and would often withdraw into silence for hours. She told me that Mahadev had given her a great blessing, enabling her to connect with him and Parvati Ma inwardly while performing all her outer activities. I suspect they told her many other things that Mata never shared with me. Inwardly, Mata seemed to have gained new strength, but I could also see that on the physical plane her life force was weakening. Mata had a way of erasing from your mind any negative thoughts, and so I gradually lost the fear of her departure. Honestly, I didn't think of it much in the next few months, but I did observe certain changes. I watched as she wandered into the forest and stood before a tree or an animal or a plant and gazed at it with such tender care. Sometimes she would run her hands along the bark of a tree or rest her back against the trunk and close her eyes. A smile would burst across her face, and I knew she was sending and receiving love from that tree. Once at such time, she said, I see him in every ray of sun, in every leaf and plant. Here, there, everywhere I see my beloved Narayan. Where is he not? Shri Ram tried to come as frequently as he could that last year. I remember one visit when they were enjoying themselves as a family, as they had done so often when Love and Kush were young. But now that they were older, I rarely saw them play in this way. Mata was laughing with them, seated on the ground, trying to pull them both onto her lap, even though they were quite a bit taller than her now. As they laughingly pulled away, she would draw them close again, trying to coddle them as if they were still small children. Shri Ram was watching their play with great amusement. I was quietly observing the scene when suddenly a feeling of sadness came over me as I noticed the few strands of silver hair that now peered out around her face and the shallow lines that, like small footprints, had crept around her eyes, and the thinning of her cheeks that were once so perfectly formed. She was still beautiful, no doubt, but I could see the threat of age waiting to ripen. I cannot bear to see you age, Mata, I thought to myself. Sri Ram caught this thought and went over to the three of them. The boys had finally extricated themselves from Mata's grip, and they were all still laughing. Sita, he said in such a loving voice, you are even more beautiful now than when I first met you. Tenderly, he stroked her hair as he spoke these words. She paused and looked at him, and then quietly said only, Ram. It is the truth, for the love and joy that now pour out of you are such, I have no words to describe your beauty. I realized then that he was quietly reminding me to see not just the external but the internal reality, and that he wanted their children to experience this love between them so they would remember it always. Thank you, Prabhu, I silently whispered. You never fail to catch and correct my thoughts. This was the way Sri Ram helped me steer me to the true reality. Rarely did he openly correct me, but now often he discreetly brought me back when my thinking had gone off track. Jai Shri Ram.